Part 1. Into the Celestial Abyss. Pinpoints of light scattered across the canvas of space seemed to laugh at me as I struggled with the control panel of the Genesis Dawn. It wasn't my ship, but I'd been hired, or should I say conscripted, to help pilot it after some unfortunate run-ins with the law on Terra Prime. The ship was a mix of rust and hope, barely holding together with dreams and duct tape. Its jagged silhouette cut through the starlit void as we approached the orbital station of Xanthea. "Aye, Captain," quipped Roderick from his station, his voice a honeyed drawl marinated in sarcasm. "You ever flown anything this sophisticated before, or is this your first dance with a can of cosmic sardines?" I rolled my eyes, an exercise in futility since I had the visor of my helmet pulled down. Our suits were crusted with the scent of burnt circuits and recycled air. Roderick was our engineer, a man of perpetual half-grins and questionable hygiene. Still, his hands were magic when it came to machinery. We'd need that touch soon enough. Ahead lay Xanthea Station, an ancient megastructure rumored to drift through the galaxy, carrying enigmatic relics of a bygone civilization. It was a sprawling wheel, its sections connected by skeletal spokes that spun mysteries older than humanity itself. It was our current goal, a treasure hunt for the desperate and the foolish. My heart thumped a beat out of sync with the silent symphony of the cosmos. I felt like a speck of dust in a hurricane. We had a tip-off, an ancient artifact supposedly hidden within Xanthea's core. Legends claimed it could alter the very fabric of reality. To everyone else, it was a myth. To us, it was a paycheck with a steep interest rate. As we docked, the station loomed ominously, its massive entryway a yawning maw ready to swallow us whole. The airlock clanged shut with a finality that made me wonder if we'd ever open it again on this side of oblivion. "Okay, team," I said, my voice steady to mask the gnawing anxiety gnawing at my gut. "Roderick, keep the engines warm, just in case we need to make a hasty retreat." "Why would we need to hasty anything?" chimed in Marla, our navigator. Her eyes twinkled with the kind of mischief that suggested a penchant for chaos. "This place is like an old museum. What could possibly go wrong?" Famous last words. It was the kind of optimism that made me question her prior employment. "Just keep an eye on the systems, all right," I replied. Before we could fall into another banter, which I knew would likely end with me losing, I switched focus to the task at hand. The interior of Xanthea was a cathedral of shadows and echoes. Our footsteps rang against the cool metallic floor, reverberating through the cavernous halls. Strange hieroglyphs adorned the walls, their meanings lost in time. The air was thick with the scent of forgotten secrets and dreams that had long turned to dust. Our HUDs illuminated the path and I took point, my senses tuned into every creak and hum. Though the station seemed deserted, I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. "Captain, over here," Marla whispered, her voice carrying an edge of urgency. We gathered around her. She stood before a massive door engraved with intricate designs and pulsing with an eerie, otherworldly glow. "Looks like the thing we're here for is behind this," she said, excitement dancing in her voice. "Shall we?" With a nod, I reached for the control panel. The door slid open with a groan, an ancient creature waking for the first time in eons. Beyond it, an azure chamber pulsated with ethereal energy. In its center stood a monolith, its obsidian surface shimmering with unfathomable power. "Ladies and gentlemen," Roderick said, his voice a cocktail of awe and disbelief, "I think we've hit the jackpot." But as we stepped closer, the chamber trembled. A wave of energy rippled out, knocking us back. My vision blurred, and as I fought to remain conscious, I glimpsed something moving within the walls, something that didn't belong to this universe. What is that?" Marla stammered, her wide eyes fixed on a nebulous form coalescing before us. The creature was like nothing I'd ever seen, with tendrils of luminescent smoke and eyes like burning stars. It hovered, shifting and warping as if reality's edges were merely suggestions. "Welcome, travelers," it intoned, its voice resonating directly in my mind, bypassing sound and language altogether. "You seek the truth." I nodded, swallowing the ball of apprehension lodged in my throat. Gut instinct told me this was just the beginning. "Then know this," the creature continued, looming closer until it filled my vision. "The artifact you seek, it is not what it seems." The station shuddered violently, systems failing one after another. Lights flickered, the air grew cold, and alarms blared, a symphony of chaos amid the sudden dark. "Time to go," I shouted, grabbing Marla and Roderick as we stumbled. Back through the corridors, the station crumbling around us like a dying star. We barely made it to the Genesis Dawn. Engines roared to life as Roderick punched the controls, sending us rocketing away from the disintegrating structure. "What the hell was that?" Marla gasped, breathless and wide-eyed. "I don't know," I admitted, my mind racing to process what we had encountered. "But whatever it is, it might be more dangerous than we realized." The artifact was connected to something vast and incomprehensible, and somehow I knew it had just awakened. As the Genesis Dawn sped away, the stars stretched into lines, and we hurtled into the unknown, our fate tethered to an enigma older than time. Part 2: Shadows of the Quantum Sea. The Genesis Dawn hurtled through space, engines humming a desperate melody beneath our feet. The stars outside blurred into streaks, and my mind felt much the same, fuzzy and stretched, unable to find solid ground. I shot a glance at Marla and Roderick, both strapped into their seats, their faces a palette of shock and adrenaline. The encounter with that creature, that sentient anomaly, had left us with more questions than answers. And somehow, I knew it was just the overture of a symphony we weren't ready to hear. "All right, Captain," Roderick drawled, breaking the silence that had cocooned us. "Mind explaining how we nearly turned into cosmic dust back there?" I rubbed my temples, attempting to piece together the fragments of knowledge we had gathered. That station wasn't abandoned, it was guarded, by something or someone that didn't want us meddling with that artifact. "What do you think it meant when it said the artifact wasn't what it seemed?" Marla asked, her voice quieter than usual, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile calm we clung to. I had no answer, so silence filled in. Outside the viewport, the quantum sea of hyperspace swirled, a prismatic dance of particles and waves, beautiful and indifferent. Space travel reminded me of life's grand indifference, a reminder that our struggles were merely whispers in a screaming universe. "We need answers," I finally said, urgency creeping back into my voice. "And I know just the place to get them." Marla glanced at me, eyebrows raised. "You're not seriously thinking of going to the Wraith Bazaar?" "Exactly there," I replied, a plan forming amidst the chaos of my thoughts. "If anyone's heard whispers of ancient tech and strange happenings, it'll be that place. Besides, we need supplies and repairs after that last joyride." The Wraith Bazaar, a patchwork market stitched into the rings of a dead planet, where gravity fought a losing battle against greed and desperation. It was a haven for smugglers, traders, and wayfarers, all seeking their fortunes in the galaxy's shadows. Far from the prying eyes of any governing body, it was the ideal sanctuary for illicit exchanges and whispered secrets. As we emerged from hyperspace, the bazaar loomed into view, its sprawling mass glittering under the light of a fading red sun. The gravity here was fickle, tugging at us unevenly as we maneuvered the Genesis Dawn into a docking bay. "We've got a few hours before someone notices our more than dubious entry," I said, strapping on my gear. "Let's find an information broker." The air was thick with the scent of burnt fuel and exotic spices as we stepped out onto the landing deck. Hawkers shouted their wares, alien voices mingling with the familiar dialects of humanity. Creatures of every shape and size moved through the bustling maze of stalls, some on legs, others on tentacles or hover plates. The air vibrated with sounds and smells, each giving the bazaar its vivid, chaotic life. Roderick led the way, his familiarity with such places a vestige of his colorful past. "This way," he murmured, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. We ended up at a nondescript booth draped in tattered silks, where a figure sat swathed in shadows, only the gleam of their eyes visible. It was difficult to tell whether they were human or something else entirely. "Looking for information, are we?" The voice that emerged was a curious blend of tones, as though multiple beings spoke in unison. "We need to know about Xanthea Station," I said, holding their gaze, "and the artifact hidden within its core." The broker chuckled, a sound like wind through chimes. "Ah, the Xanthea enigma. Many seek its secrets, few find its truths, but I have information for a price." "Name it," I replied, trying to keep desperation from bleeding into my voice. "A favor to be called upon later," the broker said, their grin a crescent moon beneath the hood. "Do we have a deal?" I hesitated, weighing the unknown against the urgent need for answers. In the end, necessity won out. "Deal." The broker leaned closer, their breath a chill against my skin. "The artifact you seek is from the Athari, a race long vanished from this realm. It is not an object, but a gateway. It holds the power to rewrite reality, but at a cost." "A gateway," Marla echoed, disbelief knitted into her features. "To the quantum verge, a dimension where time and space unravel. Only those bound to a singular purpose may control it without consequence." The weight of their words settled over us, heavier than a neutron star. "And the creature?" I asked. "A guardian, a remnant of the Athari's will. It awakens when the gateway is threatened." Before we could ask more, a commotion erupted nearby, drawing us back to the present. Station security, notorious for their lack of humor, were sweeping through the market, likely tipped off by our arrival. "Time to go," Roderick urged, pulling us away from the booth. We slipped back into the crowd, the broker's last words echoing in my mind like a ghostly refrain. The Genesis dawn awaited, a battered beacon of familiarity amidst the storm of uncertainty. As we lifted off, the Wraith Bazaar faded into the distance, leaving us with more questions and the chilling knowledge that our path led to a reality-altering relic. We had stirred something ancient and powerful, and whatever it was, it wouldn't let us go easily. As the stars embraced us once more, a single thought pulsed in my mind. We were on a collision course with fate. Part 3. A Rift in Reality. The Genesis dawn slipped through the velvet curtain of the cosmos, our journey now driven by revelations that crackled with the promise of both power and peril. The artifact, a gateway to the quantum verge, weighed on my mind like the long shadow of an unseen eclipse. I couldn't shake the feeling that our next destination might lead us into the heart of a storm that no one could weather. "Bit of a pickle, isn't it?" Roderick commented, his tone a mix of sarcasm and genuine concern. "We're chasing a legend, and I'm not entirely sure we're the heroic types meant for that kind of narrative." "Speak for yourself," Marla countered, fiddling with the navigation console. Her bravado, though reassuring, couldn't hide the slight tremor in her hands. "I've always wanted to rewrite reality. Maybe I'll make myself impervious to your terrible jokes." Roderick chuckled, though it failed to mask the tension thrumming beneath the banter. Humor was our lifeline, the thin thread keeping us grounded amidst the swirling chaos. Yet underneath the camaraderie, I felt a growing unease, like the rumble preceding a quake. All right, I interrupted, needing to steer us back to focus. We need to head to Carillon Prime. If there are answers to be found, the archives of the overseers there may hold them. Carillon Prime, an archivist's dream and a bureaucrat's nightmare. Its vast libraries, both digital and physical, held the knowledge of countless civilizations. The overseers, a mostly benevolent community of scholars and historians, had a reputation for neutrality, making it the perfect place for us to dig deeper into the Athari legacy without raising suspicions. As we approached the planet, its surface glimmering like a jewel inlaid with shimmering cities and sprawling forests, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps here, amidst the ancient data and endless scrolls, we could find a way to control, or destroy, the gateway. The Genesis Dawn docked smoothly, and we stepped onto a platform that was a whirl of organized chaos, drones flitting about, carrying tomes and data drives while scholars hurried to and fro, absorbed in their research. The air hummed with the scent of ink, ozone, and the curious mix of exotic flora from the surrounding arboreta. We were greeted by an overseer, her robes flowing like water, embroidered with symbols that spoke of wisdom and time. Her eyes, sharp yet kind, appraised us with the curiosity of someone who might dissect chaos in her spare time. "Welcome to the archives," she said, her voice melodic and precise. "I am Overseer Linara. How may we assist you in your quest for knowledge?" Her demeanor suggested she was unfazed by the eclectic mix of travelers Carillon Prime attracted, though our request might stretch even her seasoned patience. "We're researching the Athari and their technology," I began, choosing my words with care. "Specifically, a gateway located on Xanthea Station." Linara paused, the slightest furrow disrupting her serene expression. "Ah, the Athari, a fascinating civilization. Their technology is said to be boundless yet treacherous. You seek what many have before." She led us through corridors lined with data nodes and holographic displays, stopping at a chamber filled with a dizzying array of ancient scripts hovering in the air like fireflies. These records detail the Athari and their experiments with reality. But be warned, knowledge of such things is a burden. As we sifted through the data, patterns emerged. The Athari had been pioneers, their advancements in quantum mechanics unparalleled. Yet their pursuit of power led to their downfall, events that mirrored our own motivations uncomfortably closely. Then something caught my eye, a reference to a catalyst necessary for the gateway's activation. An element rare and volatile, able to stabilize the connections between dimensions. Without it, the gateway posed an existential threat to all realities. "This catalyst," I murmured, pointing it out to Marla and Roderick. "We need to find it." Linara looked at me, her gaze piercing. "You tread a narrow path. Though Athari's reach exceeded their grasp and it nearly unmade them, you must be certain of your intentions." Certainty, I mused, was a luxury we couldn't afford, but determination, that we had in ample supply. As we prepared to depart, shadows stretched and twisted across the data chamber, their movement unnatural and menacing. The air grew heavy, buzzing with an energy that made my skin crawl. "Something's wrong," Marla whispered, her eyes darting to the shifting darkness. Before we could react, the shadows converged, forming a portal that churned like a storm. From it emerged figures that seemed to defy logic and light, their forms fluid and unrecognizable. A voice, cold and resonant, echoed through the chamber. "Guardians of the gateway, we are the harbingers of the rift. You meddle in affairs beyond your ken." The overseer stood firm, calm, unyielding in the face of this spectral threat. "This is a place of peace," she declared. "You have no power here." Yet even as she spoke, I felt the room's stability wavering, the very walls vibrating with tension. The harbingers advanced, and we had but moments to act. "Time to go," Roderick suggested, and for once I agreed without hesitation. We bolted, the overseer's voice a steady anchor against the encroaching dark. "Seek the pillars of time, we will hold them back." With her parting words, we raced back to the Genesis dawn, the weight of our mission heavier than ever. The harbinger's appearance forced our hands, accelerating a destiny we could not escape. As the ship launched into the void, I felt the echo of the overseer's courage and resolve resonate within me. Though the path ahead was fraught with danger, the quest for the Athari gateway had become immutable, a race against time itself. Part 4: The Pillars of Time. The Genesis dawn raced through the cosmic sea, the universe stretching and contracting around us as we pursued answers. The elusive catalyst, the enigmatic pillars of time, and the truth hidden behind the Athari's fallen legacy. The ship hummed with a sense of urgency, its metal frame an echo of our collective resolve. Yet beneath the rhythmic thrum of the engines, an undercurrent of apprehension lingered, a constant reminder of the harbingers we'd left behind. "Pillars of time," Roderick mused from his station, his fingers dancing over the controls as he cross-referenced our data. "Sounds like a bad space opera. You sure this isn't just a wild goose chase, Captain?" "It's our best shot," I replied, focusing on the translucent map unfurling before us. A lattice of star systems, each a potential waypoint to our destination. Marla leaned back in her chair, eyes flicking between the displays and the stars beyond. "If the overseer mentioned it, there's got to be something to the myth. Maybe we'll get lucky and find a guidepost before our luck runs out." As her words hung in the air, the ship's alarms erupted into a cacophony of sound, a discordant symphony that jarred my senses into overdrive. Red lights flashed, casting eerie shadows that danced across the cockpit. "Great," Roderick muttered, checking diagnostics with a practiced ease that belied his concern. "Looks like we've got company." On the exterior cameras, shapes emerged from the darkness like phantoms, sleek vessels with a sinister, predatory grace. Their design was unfamiliar, but instinct told me they were neither friendly nor open to negotiation. "The harbingers," I muttered, gripping the controls tighter. "They've found us." Their ships moved with a fluidity that defied physical laws, closing the distance with unnerving speed. I could almost feel their intent, a palpable hunger radiating from their formation, predators zeroing in on prey. "We can't outrun them," Marla noted, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We'll have to fight." "Fighting it is," I replied, my decision as swift as it was necessary. "Roderick, weapons online. Marla, keep our shields tuned to their frequencies. Let's see if we can turn this into a fair match." In the ensuing moments, the universe contracted, all else falling away as the dance of evasion and counterattack unfolded. The Genesis dawn twisted and twirled, missiles and energy bolts arcing through the void like fallen stars. The enemy ships moved with ethereal precision, their every motion a threat of lethal beauty. "We can't keep this up forever," Roderick called out, sweat beading on his brow. "Got any bright ideas, Captain?" The answer came unbidden, drawn from the depths of some primal intuition. "Prepare to jump to the Ark's nebula," I ordered, setting coordinates into the nav computer. "The radiation there might be our only chance to lose them." Marla nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. "Jump coordinates set, just say the word." "Do it," I commanded, the urgency of the moment eclipsing any hesitation. Space folded around us, the stars streaking into lines as the Genesis dawn leapt into the unknown. The transition was a gut-wrenching lurch, a sensation of being unmade and remade in the span of a heartbeat. But it worked. The Harbinger ships didn't follow, deterred by the nebula's chaotic energies. We emerged in the midst of a celestial storm, the Ark's nebula a swirling canvas of color and light that defied description. Shades of violet, emerald, and azure ebbed and flowed, an ocean of radiation and cosmic phenomena. It was both magnificent and terrifying, a testament to the universe's boundless creativity. There, Roderick pointed, his voice tinged with awe. Is that a structure? Amidst the nebula's tumult, a formation rose, a series of towering spires, each a different hue, connected by delicate bridges of light. They pulsed with an ancient energy, resonating in harmony with the nebula's chaotic dance. "The pillars of time," Marla whispered, the breath of discovery stealing her voice. As we approached, I felt a strange resonance, as though the space between heartbeats had stretched, allowing the past to bleed into the present. It was an unsettling sensation, like déjà vu in a place I had never been. We landed near the base of the nearest spire, the ground a mosaic of crystalline structures that shimmered underfoot. The air was heavy with a sense of age and wisdom, each pillar an archive of moments and memories waiting to be unlocked. "This place feels alive," Marla noted, her voice a reverent hush. We explored cautiously, guided by instinct and the faintest whispers in the ether. Glyphs adorned the pillars, their symbols shimmering with a light that shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. "What do you think this is?" Roderick asked, running his hand over the surface of a nearby pillar. Before I could respond, a pulse of light emanated from the pillar, expanding outward in a ripple that enveloped us. I gasped, the air electrified as images coalesced around us, visions of the Athari, their rise and fall, the creation of the gateway, and the cataclysm that followed. The realization hit me with the weight of a supernova. These pillars were more than just monuments, they were echoes, a chronicle of time itself, and we were witnessing the very threads of history unfurl before us. "They've shown us the past," I murmured, awestruck. "The Athari's attempts to harness the gateway, their failures and their hopes." "But what about the future?" Marla asked, her eyes wide with wonder. As if in answer, the pillars shimmered once more, the resonance shifting into a new frequency. I could feel it, a choice laid out before us, the path of salvation or destruction. It was an invitation, a challenge, and a warning. The fate of reality, balanced upon the edge of a decision. As the visions faded, I knew we had been given a glimpse not just of what had been, but of what could be. And with this knowledge, the weight of our task settled upon us heavier than ever, a burden and a gift, as we set our course to determine the future of all that was and all that might be. Part 5. Echoes of Eternity. The air around us shimmered with residual energy, the pillars of time whispering secrets only the brave, or the foolish, would dare to hear. As the echoes of those visions ebbed, leaving behind a profound silence, the weight of our newfound knowledge pressed upon us. It was a responsibility that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, like standing on the precipice of a revelation that could unmake the universe or bind its fraying threads. "We've got to act," I said, the quiet resolve in my voice stronger than the uncertainty I felt. "The Athari showed us the stakes, now it's up to us to decide how this ends." Marla nodded, her eyes alight with a mix of fear and determination. "We're not just dealing with remnants of the past anymore. These pillars have given us a glimpse of what's at risk if the Harbingers get to the gateway first." "Speaking of which," Roderick interjected, his gaze fixed on the horizon, "I think we've got incoming." I turned to see dark shapes emerging from the swirling nebula, a fleet of ships, their sleek lines silhouetted against the luminescent storm. At their head was a vessel larger and more menacing than the rest, its silhouette an ominous harbinger of the conflict to come. "The harbingers are relentless," Marla said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're not stopping until they have control of the gateway." "We need a plan," I replied, adrenaline sharpening my senses. "We can't take them on directly, but maybe." Before I could finish, the nebula crackled with energy, arcs of lightning dancing between the pillars, as if reacting to the presence of the harbingers. The air was thick with potential, a tangible force just waiting to be harnessed. "Time to get creative," Roderick said, a hint of mischief curling at the edges of his grin. "If there's one thing I know, it's how to cause a little chaos." "Marla, can the Genesis Dawn interface with these pillars?" I asked, a plan forming in the turbulence of thought. Her eyes widened in realization. "If we can link the ship's systems to the pillars, we might be able to channel their energy, use the nebula's chaos against them." "Then let's do it," I said, feeling the rush of an idea pulling us into action. "Roderick, get the engines ready for a quick exit. Marla, find a way to establish that connection." The Harbinger fleet was closing in, their ships cutting through the nebula's vibrant storm like sharks through water. Tension coiled around us as we worked, racing against the encroaching darkness. Marla's fingers flew over the controls, bringing the Genesis Dawn in sync with the pillar's frequencies. "Almost there," she murmured, the ship's systems humming in sympathetic resonance with the ancient structures. The air vibrated with purpose as the connection solidified. The pillars pulsed with energy, their light intensifying until it was blinding. The nebula around us responded in kind, the storm surging with newfound intensity. "Now," I shouted, "the command a catalyst setting our plan into motion." The Genesis Dawn became the conductor, channeling the pillar's energy through its systems and into the nebula. Lightning arced and danced, the chaos expanding into a tempest that engulfed the Harbinger fleet. Their ships struggled against the onslaught, caught in the web of energy that twisted and warped reality around them. It was a spectacle both beautiful and terrifying, the nebula's fury unfolding with a grandeur that defied comprehension. "Let's get out of here," Roderick called, his voice tight with urgency. We disengaged from the pillars, the Genesis Dawn surging away from the storm, its engines a roar of defiance. Behind us, the nebula continued to rage, its wrath consuming the harbingers in a maelstrom of light and shadow. The ship hurtled through the void, the stars stretching into lines as we escaped the nebula's grasp. It was a reprieve, though temporary, a moment snatched from the jaws of annihilation. As silence settled over the cockpit, I allowed myself a breath, a moment to process the enormity of what we'd done. The harbingers were momentarily thwarted, but they would regroup, relentless in their pursuit. "We bought ourselves some time," Marla said, her voice a quiet victory, "but they'll be back. Then we need to find the catalyst and secure the gateway before they can make another move," I replied, the gravity of our mission redoubling. Roderick nodded, the silence of space punctuated by the steady hum of the ship's systems. "What's our next step?" "We head to Cygnar Delta," I said, the course of action crystallizing in my mind. "The last known location of the Authari's catalyst." As the Genesis Dawn charted its course, the path ahead stretched into the unknown, a tapestry of challenges and choices waiting to be woven. We were on the brink of something monumental, each step carrying the weight of history and the promise of tomorrow. And as the stars whispered their eternal song, I knew we were not simply passengers on this journey. We were the architects of fate, the dreamers bound to the cosmos, poised to shape the destiny of all that was and all that might be. Part 6, Catalyst of Destiny. The Genesis dawn slipped through the cosmic veil, stars winking conspiratorially as we charted a course towards Cygnar Delta. The ship's interior thrummed with the quiet intensity of a crew poised on the edge of fate, every surface and system a testament to our shared resolve. Ahead lay the final piece of the puzzle, the catalyst that could tip the balance of the cosmos. Roderick lounged at his console, a picture of casual confidence that masked the weight of our mission. You ever wonder what the Athari thought when they came up with all this reality-bending tech? I imagine they thought they were invincible, I replied, my gaze fixed on the swirling tapestry of stars. Turns out no one's immune to their own hubris. Marla glanced up from her nav charts, a wry smile tugging at her lips. Good thing we're just humble travelers, right? No grand delusions here, just a universe to save. Her humor was a lifeline, grounding us in the reality of our circumstances. The path we walked was fraught with peril, but it was ours, forged in the fires of choice and necessity. We approached Cygnar Delta, a planet scarred by time and tide, a wild world where ruins lay half-buried beneath jungles that pulsed with life and mystery. The Athari had left their mark here, whispers of their legacy entwined with the roots and stones. The Genesis dawn landed amidst a sea of emerald foliage, the jungle canopy a verdant cathedral that stretched toward the heavens. We disembarked, the air heavy with the mingled scents of earth and ozone, each breath a reminder that nature was an ally and adversary in equal measure. Looks dense, Roderick noted, eyeing the tangled undergrowth with a healthy dose of skepticism. You sure this catalyst is somewhere in there? According to the records, there's a temple, I said, checking our coordinates against the data we'd retrieved. The Athari constructed it to house the catalyst, we just have to find it. The jungle teemed with life, creatures that flitted through the branches, their calls echoing like the music of an alien orchestra. The path was rugged, tangled vines and roots underfoot conspiring to trip us at every step. Marla led the way, her instincts honed by countless expeditions into the unknown. I always did like a good treasure hunt, she said, carving a path through the verdant maze. Just me, nature, and the occasional death trap. As we pressed onward, the jungle shifted around us, the air thickening with anticipation. It felt as though the world itself held its breath, waiting to see what we would do. Hours passed, the sun casting dappled shadows that danced across our skin, a symphony of light and life. Then we saw it, a break in the endless green, a clearing that opened to reveal ancient stone steps leading into the earth. Found it, Roderick declared, wiping sweat from his brow. Let's hope whatever's down there isn't too keen on surprise visitors. We descended into the temple, the air growing cool and dry, the walls adorned with glyphs that pulsed with a faint luminescence. The architecture was alien yet familiar, echoes of the Athari's genius and folly etched into every surface. Feels like we're walking into history, Marla murmured, her voice a reverent whisper in the darkness. The passageway opened into a vast chamber, the ceiling soaring above us like the vault of heaven. At its center stood a pedestal, on which rested an object unlike any we'd seen, a crystalline orb, pulsating with an inner light that flickered like a distant star. The catalyst, I breathed, stepping forward, the gravity of discovery pulling me closer. But before I could reach it, a sound rippled through the chamber, a low, resonant hum that vibrated in my bones. Shadows coalesced around us, the air shimmering with an energy that was neither light nor darkness. You have come far, a voice intoned, its source unseen, but the path you tread is fraught with danger. The harbingers had followed us, their presence a specter that haunted our every step. Yet this voice was different, resonant with a wisdom that transcended time and space. "What are you?" Marla asked, eyes scanning the shifting shadows for answers. "A guardian," the voice replied, its tone a melody of ages. "I am the last of the Authari, a remnant bound to protect this place and its secrets." Roderick smirked, though his eyes were wary. "Seems everyone in this galaxy's got secrets worth dying over." The Guardian's laughter was a chorus of echoes, a sound both alien and comforting. "Indeed, but not all secrets are meant to be known. The catalyst is a key, a power that can unmake or rebirth worlds." "What do we do with it?" I asked, the weight of destiny pressing upon me with relentless force. "That is for you to decide," the Guardian said, its form shifting and swirling in the dim light. "But know this, whichever path you choose, it will alter the tapestry of existence." The catalyst beckoned, its light a beacon of possibility and peril. The choice before us was a fulcrum upon which reality balanced, a moment that would echo through eternity. As I reached for the orb, I felt the universe hold its breath, waiting for the scales to tip and the future to unfold. We stood on the edge of destiny, architects of a fate that would ripple across the stars, a choice that would shape the very fabric of time. And in that moment I knew, whatever came next would be of our own making, a testament to the power of choice and the boundless possibilities that lay within the grasp of those daring enough to seize them. Part 7: Threads of Fate. The crystalline orb floated before me, a beacon of untapped power and possibility. Its surface shimmered like liquid starlight, each flicker a heartbeat of the cosmos waiting to be rewritten. The decision lay heavy, not just in my hand but in the very fabric of space and time. I felt the universe pulse around me, urging caution and courage in equal measure. Roderick and Marla stood by my side, their presence a steady anchor in the maelstrom of potential that the catalyst represented. The Guardian's form shifted and danced, a specter of the Authari, an echo of their era's wisdom and folly. "Remember," it cautioned, its voice a symphony of time. "The choice you make here will resonate far beyond this chamber." As its words settled over us, the air began to hum, a subtle vibration at first, growing into a deep, resonant thrum that seemed to originate from the walls themselves. The glyphs glowed brighter, casting intricate patterns of light across the chamber. It was as though the temple itself was awakening, responding to the catalyst's presence. "We can't stay here long," Marla said, her voice tinged with urgency. "This whole place feels alive." Roderick nodded, his hand resting on the hilt of his sidearm, a reassuring weight in uncertain circumstances. "Any second now, I'm expecting a welcoming committee we'd rather avoid." With a deep breath, I reached for the catalyst, the cool surface tingling under my fingertips. Energy coursed through me, a river of light and sound that carried whispers of distant stars and forgotten ages. Images flickered at the edges of my vision, fractured glimpses of 1,000 possibilities, each fork a new reality awaiting birth or oblivion. The Guardian's voice resonated within my mind, a steady guide through the storm of sensation. "Choose wisely, for once the path is set, it may not be undone." As I struggled to focus, a vision crystallized, a future not of conquest but of unity. The gateway could be a bridge, not a weapon, a conduit to connect, not dominate. I saw faces, human and alien, joined in cooperation, using the Authari's knowledge to heal and create. It was a vision both terrifying and beautiful, a tapestry woven from hope and risk. "Captain," Roderick's voice called me back, grounding me in the moment. "What do you see?" "I see," I began, the weight of worlds in my voice. "I see a chance for something greater." The chamber trembled, the glyphs pulsating in rhythm with the decision I'd made. The catalyst flared, a brilliant starburst of energy that enveloped the room in light. It was like standing in the heart of a supernova, the universe unfolding around us in breathtaking splendor. When the light receded, the chamber was unchanged, yet I felt a shift, a subtle realignment of the cosmos, a new course set into motion. The catalyst hummed gently, its power no longer a tempest, but a gentle current awaiting direction. The Guardian's presence shimmered. You have chosen well. The gateway shall be a beacon, a nexus for peace and discovery. Roderick exhaled, relief and awe warring for dominance in his expression. Well, that was one hell of a light show. Let's hope we didn't just paint a target on our backs. We need to return to the Genesis dawn, Marla urged, glancing toward the passageway. The harbingers won't give up easily. We retraced our steps, the temple's echoes of history now a gentle murmur in our wake. The jungle greeted us with its vibrant cacophony, life resuming its endless dance as we emerged into the light of day. As we navigated the dense foliage, I felt the catalyst's presence, a subtle glow within my mind, a reminder of the path we'd chosen. It was a promise and a burden, an unspoken vow to see it through. Back aboard the Genesis Dawn, the familiar hum of the engines felt like a heartbeat, a comforting cadence in the vastness of space. The ship lifted off, the temple receding beneath the jungle canopy, its secrets now part of our story. Marla set a course for the gateway, her fingers flying over the controls with practiced ease. We're headed for Xanthea Station, time to secure that beacon. As we entered the vastness of the stars once more, I felt the universe open before us, a sea of possibilities, each wave a promise of what could be. The journey was far from over and the challenges yet to come loomed large, but we were not alone. We carried with us the hopes of worlds, the dreams of countless beings, and a catalyst that could reshape destiny itself. And as the Genesis dawn sailed through the starlit void, I knew that whatever came our way, we would face it together. Bound by purpose, guided by hope, we were architects of the future, custodians of the cosmos, and the dreamers of the dawn. Part 8. The Gates of Realignment. The Genesis dawn glided through the velvet expanse of space, a solitary vessel weaving through the tapestry of stars. Our goal was clear: reach Xanthea Station, stabilize the gateway, and ensure the catalyst's power became a beacon of unity rather than a weapon of division. The weight of what lay ahead pressed upon us, yet within it thrummed a sense of purpose, a certainty born from the crucible of our journey. Marla tweaked the navigation settings, her focus unwavering. We're approaching the coordinates, she announced, the cockpit a cocoon of subdued anticipation. Roderick leaned back, casual yet utterly alert. Here, hoping the harbingers haven't turned the place into their lair. Wouldn't put it past them, I replied, my eyes scanning the displays. But we've got a trick or two up our sleeves. We emerged from hyperspace, the familiar silhouette of Xanthea Station looming ahead, a silent sentinel against the backdrop of infinity. The station, with its ancient and enigmatic architecture, seemed both welcoming and foreboding, as if aware of the pivotal role it played in the unfolding drama of our time. The docking procedure was smooth, the Genesis dawn settling into the station's embrace like an old friend returning home. We disembarked, weapons at the ready, alert to the possibility of harbinger intrusion. The corridors of Xanthea were a labyrinth of shadow and light, echoes of our previous visit threading through the silence. Yet now they seemed imbued with a new energy, as if the station itself thrummed in anticipation of its rebirth. Let's get to the core, I said, leading the way. The sooner we get the gateway operational, the better. We navigated the passageways, the glyphs that adorned the walls glowing softly in recognition of the catalyst we carried. It was as though the station welcomed us, acknowledging our presence as the architects of its destiny. Roderick jogged alongside, his gaze sharp. You feel that? It's like the whole place is waking up. Marla nodded, her voice a blend of awe and trepidation. The Athari built this for a reason. It's ready to fulfill its purpose. We reached the central chamber, its vastness a cathedral of technology and ancient wisdom. The monolith at its heart pulsed with potential, a dormant titan awaiting the spark of life. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, the hum of dormant systems ready to awaken. I approached the control panel, the catalyst in hand, its glow a steady promise. As I positioned it within the monolith's cradle, a surge of energy coursed through the room, a living current that leapt from system to system, bringing the station to life. The gateway flickered into existence, an ethereal veil shimmering at the chamber's center. It was beautiful and terrifying, a window into realms unknown, each ripple a thread of possibility stretching into eternity. Look stable, Marla observed, her fingers flying over the diagnostics. For now, anyway. Roderick peered into the swirling depths of the gateway, a mix of curiosity and caution in his eyes. Think it'll hold. It has too, I replied, the gravity of the moment settling upon us. This is our chance to change everything. The hum of the station grew louder, a crescendo of anticipation. Yet no sooner had we activated the gateway than the station's alarms blared, a discordant siren that shattered the air. "They're here," Marla shouted, her voice barely audible over the din. The harbingers had arrived, their ships breaching the station's perimeter with relentless precision. Figures clad in shadow and light emerged from the corridors, their intent clear. Roderick grinned, adrenaline sharpening his features. Guess we get to play hero after all. We took up defensive positions, the chamber a battleground bathed in the glow of the gateway. The harbingers advanced, their forms fluid and formidable, but we held firm, each pulse of energy from the gateway a promise of what could be. As chaos erupted, I focused on the monolith, the catalyst thrumming with power. We couldn't let the harbingers gain control, not when the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. "Hold the line," I commanded, my voice a rallying cry amidst the storm. The clash was intense, a whirlwind of light and shadow, each moment a heartbeat in the symphony of creation and destruction. The gateway pulsed, its fluctuations a rhythm that matched our resolve. Just as the tide seemed poised to overwhelm us, the monolith flared, a radiant burst that enveloped the chamber in brilliance. The harbingers faltered, their forms disintegrating into the ether, as if unmade by the very thing they sought to control. In the silence that followed, I felt the universe exhale, a breath held for eons released in a moment of clarity. The gateway stabilized, its light a beacon of unity, a promise of peace. As we regrouped, the reality of our achievement settled over us, a profound sense of a calm. Plishment tempered by the knowledge of what lay ahead. The gateway was secure, but the journey to ensure its promise had only just begun. And as the stars beckoned beyond, I knew our path was not just a story of survival or conquest, but of legacy. A new chapter in the endless tale of the universe, written in the language of hope. Part 9. The Fabric of Tomorrow. The echoes of battle still hung in the air as we stood amidst the luminous silence of Xanthea Station's core. The gateway shimmered with a serene intensity that belied the chaos we had narrowly escaped. Each gentle pulse was a reminder of the potential we had unleashed, a tapestry of connection woven across the vastness of space, waiting to be embraced. Marla leaned against the console, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "Can't believe we actually did it," she murmured, eyes fixed on the swirling gateway. "We turned a cosmic relic into something that might just save us all." Roderick chuckled, a low, relieved sound that echoed in the vast chamber. I don't know about you, but I think we deserve a pause button, maybe even a vacation. The idea was tempting, a momentary escape from the relentless demands of destiny. Yet, as I gazed into the depths of the gateway, I knew our work was not yet finished. The path ahead was one of vigilance and stewardship, ensuring that the promise of this newfound power was realized. "We're the keepers now," I said, my voice carrying the weight of our unspoken resolve. "We've opened the door to something bigger than ourselves. We can't turn away." The station hummed in agreement, its systems awakening to their new role as custodians of hope. The network of connections the gateway enabled began to take shape, a web of collaboration and unity spanning worlds and civilizations. "Time to spread the word," Marla suggested, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. "If this is going to work, we need allies, people ready to step up and be part of what's next." Roderick nodded, his usual levity giving way to a rare earnestness. "We've got a chance to rewrite the script. Let's make sure we've got the right cast." Communication relays crackled to life, sending out messages through the vast reaches of space. Invitations, not demands, calls for unity rather than control. The response would be slow, a gradual gathering of like minds drawn to a vision of a galaxy reshaped by cooperation. As the transmission dispersed into the void, we turned our attention to the station's systems. The Harbingers had been temporarily thwarted, their presence a fading shadow, but the threat they posed lingered, a persistent specter that would haunt us until their purpose was fully understood. "Think they'll be back?" Roderick asked, his gaze lingering on the corridor where the last of the Harbingers had vanished. "They're nothing if not persistent," I replied, the certainty of it settling like a chill. "But now we know what they're after and how to defend it." Our conversation was interrupted by a sudden, brilliant flash as the gateway flared, a cascade of colors cascading across its surface. The pulse was different this time, not a ripple of energy but a deliberate signal of intent. "Are you seeing this?" Marla said, her fingers flying over the console as data streamed in. The gateway's energy coalesced, forming a pattern, a code that unfurled in a dance of light and sound. It was a message, a beacon not from this realm, but from a place beyond the boundary of our understanding. "It's a response," I whispered, awe threading through my voice. Something is reaching out to us." The realization struck with the force of the supernova, our actions had not gone unnoticed. The gateway had touched more than local space. It had sent ripples across dimensions, echoing into the unknown. "This changes everything," Roderick said, his voice a mixture of disbelief and excitement. "We're not just bridging worlds, we're reaching into the fabric of existence itself." As the light of the code faded, the gateway settled once more into its tranquil rhythm. We stood in silence, the air around us charged with an electricity that mingled uncertainty with exhilaration. "What do we do now?" Marla asked, her question a thread connecting us to the possibilities that beckoned. I turned to face them, my resolve firm amidst the swirling tide of potential. "We continue," I said. "We explore, we learn, and we welcome what comes next." And so, with the gateway secure and the future unfurling before us like a vast, uncharted sea, we prepared to embark on the next leg of our odyssey. The path was one of discovery, each step a testament to the power of unity and the promise of the unknown. In the distance, the stars beckoned, a chorus of possibilities awaiting our touch. We were voyagers on the edge of tomorrow, dreamers bound to the cosmos, and as we charted our course into the depths of reality itself, I knew we were on the cusp of something extraordinary. Together, we would unravel the mysteries of the universe, threading our story into the grand tapestry of time, a legacy not just for us, but for all who would follow. And as the Genesis dawn carried us forward, I felt the echo of eternity whisper through the vastness. The dawn of a new age was upon us.